Welcome to Silicon Valley Asian Business Talk.
Hello, everyone. This is Roger Chen from University of San Francisco, and we are conducting this interview sponsored by University of San Francisco Center for Asia Pacific Studies, short for CAPS. And our guest today is Li Fang, and we want to thank you, Li, for kind of joining our program to share your wisdom, your insights on adopting the enterprise AI system in your company. Please briefly introduce yourself and also your company.
Great. Thank you, Roger. Hi, everyone. My name is Li Fan. I'm currently Chief Technology and AI Officer for Circle Internet Group. For those who don't know, Circle is a global financial technology company building economic operating systems for the internet. We're creating a neutral programmable layer for digital dollars and enable money to move with the same speed, transparency, and security as the information and data to do today. Now, in my role as a technology officer, I manage all the engineers, data scientists, and the tech ops in the company and build the product and services. My another role as an AI officer, I set up the company's AI strategy, and I also lead a small AI team to execute and enable everyone in the company, whether tech or non-tech.
Thank you. Actually, that's such a great background, and we are really looking forward to kind of discuss your experience.
Discussion topic: launching enterprise AI, top-down, training, metrics. Silicon Valley Asian Business Talk.
So before we discuss the details, maybe would you please kind of give us like a big picture about how does your company adopt AI in general, so we have a background for understanding of your AI adoption in your company?
Yeah, so the company has been like really active adopting AI for more than a year. In fact, we'll say from the bottom up, it started 2 years ago when the first ChatGPT really made the wave, and there's a lot of employees from bottom up and asking how can we adopt. Now, early days, it is a little bit tricky because we're in the fintech, it's a heavily regulated space. So the security compliance and including me, technology team, discuss often like how can we do it, but at that time the tooling, the enterprise version is not really ready. So more than 1 year ago, and we thankfully we have the top-down mandate. Our CEO Jeremy Allaire is always a big fan of AI, and he started to make it really official drive. And we discussed to set up the new role for me, and also set up really effort and initiative in the AI. And this is how we started to really top down, not only invest in the resource, but also have a mandate top down, say everyone has to use AI, and we even set up the company goals.
Maybe, that's a, kind of a great starting point. You talked about the, kind of a top-down and a bottom approach. I have several questions. First, where you say, of course, that's extremely important stuff from the top. So specifically from the top down, let's say your CEO, your company that mandates to require different departments to have AI initiative. Can you just give us a little bit more kind of a detailed explanation or maybe example? For example, what is the specific requirement for a certain department to kind of have some AI initiative, or just a very vague, say, hey, your department need to show me some AI initiative, but you figure out. Or different scenario, the top management say, we need you to think about this AI, more directional kind of a requirement. What is the way for top-down to drive this?
Yeah, so we actually have two major track, or you can say three. So the first one is make sure everyone up level the skill. So I remember the first quarter, we literally say now we actually sign up for, at that time, ChatGPT Enterprise version. We bought everyone a seat, and we will say, okay, you have to start to use the ChatGPT, and we have a company-wide training classes, bootcamp, hackathon, and we monitor the activity closely, and we don't really shame anyone, but we keep sharing the percentage, what's the actively daily usage, and what are the great cases people share among themselves, and how to use ChatGPT. That's like a really basic stuff. But then We also have two really deliverables. First is me, like as the Chief Technology Officer for the whole tech org, we want to make sure that engineer, of course, and upfront to utilize AI and of course coding with Cursor, Copilot, and the cloud. And we actively monitor what are the codes produced and accepted by the engineer, and also eventually how many hours we saved by using AI in terms of closing the bugs or implement a feature. So engineer is separate as because it's the biggest team in the company and also the upfront in terms of utilize the new tech. For other functions, like you said, we don't want to dictate exactly what you're going to do, but we actually have AI operation team working with every function. So first, the ELT member, the executive member will sit with me and we will sign up, say, this is what we're going to do. Every function, for example, have to produce 2 workflows that we identify, they identify, and we actually agree that this is your most critical and most leveraged by AI workflow. And within a quarter or two, you will agree that you're going to improve that workflow using AI and have a measurable impact. How you measure this is up to the function, but we, central AI team, will work with them to make sure this is measurable. This is really tied with clear business goal. It's not using AI for the sake of using AI. We really want to make sure there's a business impact there. So it is, every function is different. And for example, like I said, for engineer is the time to close a ticket. A ticket is a bug or the feature launch. For customer service function, they actually decided to say how many hours that you will close a customer reach out email, because there's always customer issue, as you think, and how many manpower you have to invest overall for a month to handle, say, thousands or tens of thousands email from the customer. So both in terms of time and in terms of resources. And that's just one example. Every team produce some metrics.
That is great, actually. So, if I understand it correctly, basically for the engineer side, which is very obvious, you try to kind of use the vibe code to use AI to, partially replace some kind of a coding work. That a lot of discussion now, but I think for me, a more interesting part is the non-engineering side. That basically is the mainstream operation. So it seems to me for the non-engineering part, you have like a general mandate, but you do give different department, different division the freedom to define their own specific AI initiative, and right, and also kind of track that. So I thought it's kind of interesting. But one, and also, I think the other interesting part, maybe to clarify, you do have a centralized team helping different operating departments or divisions for the implementation. So I assume that operating centralized team is providing the technical help, right?
Yes, although I have to say the team was very small. Even today, it's less than 10. It started with like 3 engineers. The good news is with the AI improvement, a lot of non-tech people are really empowered to use,
They use
whatever the AI
non-code,
tool.
low-code.
We have the centralized team is really to help them to form the idea and help them for the things that they cannot think of. For example, many of the non-tech team don't know how important the evaluation is, don't know how to make sure when they access data, whether that's secure enough or not, right? So, and we also set up for workflow toolings like NAN and also Landspace. There's a lot of technical tools that we support, but it's a very small team. However, I want to really emphasize we also have a centralized operation team. It's also very small. The full-time person is only just 1 person, but she's very, very active, and she's the one who keep track of a weekly status update from every function. Because we let the function to really decide to have the space, but we also kind of have a forcing function, make sure they report status every week. And we also compile the function company-wide email, and all the executives will read that email every week saying, hey, this is the weekly status update. Again, this giving people a little bit pressure that yes, you may have challenges, but look, like everyone's doing it. Yeah.
I think that's very smart. In other words, from the top-down perspective, you have technology help or technology support, as well as operation monitoring and kind of a tracking kind of thing, right? But I
Yep.
do
Thank you for watching.